All right, it looks like people are still coming in, so I'll give us another minute or so before getting started. All right, looks like we've got a great crowd. Thank you everyone for being here today on a Thursday morning. This is our first meeting of the spring semester. We haven't quite formalized, but we're leaning towards having the first meeting each semester be a little condensed, like this one will be an hour, and then have the second be a little bit longer and incorporate that designated period of time that we had last time for questions and answers from folks not on the council or within the immediate group. So thank you again for being here. We've got a great plan for our agenda for today. And I'll just go ahead and get us started by asking the council members if everyone has had a chance to have a look at the minutes and to see if there are any edits or changes that people have to suggest. These are the minutes, of course, sorry, from the December 9th meeting that were in your pre-meeting materials. All right, well, we'll have a little bit of time after the meeting as well if people have a look during the meeting and notice anything. But hearing none, I will go ahead and suggest that we approve the minutes unless anyone thinks otherwise. All right.
Move to approve or second or something.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for both. I appreciate. Anybody else have any other? I should have asked for discussion formally, but I didn't, but now I have. All right, so we have a motion and a second from Elizabeth, which we'll accept. All right, fantastic. Thank you, everyone. So our first, we have two great presentations, and we'll have an update beginning in the beginning from me, just stuff that we've done in the interim since the last meeting, which is great stuff. So I'm excited to tell you about it. The most important thing we've done is complete our team. I mentioned at the last meeting that we were very close to hiring our communication and engagement person. That process was complete. Abigail Brewer is on board and is absolutely fantastic and has been doing remarkable things. So very soon we'll be hearing from her because she's landed with the gear down and is doing great things, both bringing the team together in terms of communicating and engaging around our activities and in terms of doing really remarkable stuff independently, reaching out to groups we haven't before, and it has been great. So thank you, Abigail, welcome, and you'll be hearing from her soon. So I've talked to you often about the Green Source Advantage, the program set up for military installations and universities to get renewable energy in bulk. It's something that was set up specifically for us and for universities as a whole. To date, as it has been throughout, state universities, the universities within the state system have not been able to engage in the GSA, and this is because the rules are set up in a way that precludes it. There's price uncertainty, there's the overpaying, things that violate a state university's charter to do things as inexpensively as possible. So I've been working really hard with lots of different people. Steve Wall's been a giant help. Jonas Monist has been a giant help. There are student groups doing amazing work, and we're all pushing hard to try one last time to engage in GSA. So we have a series of additional meetings forthcoming. I mean, it should be said that the university has already submitted a filing to the Utilities Commission asking for the rules to be changed so that we can participate, and it did not succeed. So we're trying to figure out a path forward that is more likely to be successful. At the last meeting, I was optimistic about some language in the budget bill that I thought may extend our ability to participate in that program. And unfortunately, I read it with rose-colored glasses, and in fact is a firm closing of the door, at least on that original pool for the GSA. So we have between now and August, and we are pushing hard. If people would like any more information, I'm really happy to talk about it offline, or if you have any brilliant ideas, we're always looking for them. But we're going to give it one last shot. It's totally logical that we should participate, and it is our hope that we can. The Champion Revolving Fund that came from the Haynes Brands gift to the university is fully set up.
Mike, it looks like Jeff has a question.
Oh, forgive me. Jeff.
Yeah, just quickly. So, I mean, the language is that we can't, pay a premium. We can't pay more than the regular electricity price would be. We probably have to have something in terms of predictability. Is there a way, and this is just for us to think about, because you probably don't have the answer to this, but is there a way for us to create a separate fund, for example, like with the business school in the new building, that could be contractually would pay the delta in the difference between regular electricity prices and any kind of increase created by the green source advantage or the unpredictability of the price?
I think that's possible. We haven't done it yet, but what I'll say, and just as a reminder, there's this other program called the Competitive Program for Renewable Energy. I'm not sure that's what the E is, but that's in the same bill as GSA. And it's set up that your bill credit is exactly the same as what you pay for the renewable energy. So there's a model out there that does exactly what we need. It's just not in GSA yet. So our ask is to have GSA accounted for the same way that CPRE is, which doesn't feel like a stretch because they're in the same House bill. So hopefully we can do that, which would be simpler. But to answer your question, I don't know for certain, but I believe that that's a possibility.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. So Green Revolving Fund, Melanie Elliott has done a great job, has stood up an advisory committee, has a process and a plan that's just about finalized to have proposals submitted throughout the university for ideas to improve efficiency. The idea being that as the efficiency goes up and costs go down, some of those costs will be returned to the fund, and hence the Green Revolving name. It should revolve and hopefully grow. It's been really successful a lot of places, and we're hoping it will be for us as well. That program, I think, will launch probably before Earth Day, which is exciting. And I'll talk about Earth Day at the end, but it is well on its way. Thank you very much to council members who are serving on that advisory group and have provided great input that has both refined and expanded the way that we think about that program. We're really excited. We recognize that $1 million sounds like a lot to a normal person, but to the university, it's not a lot. But we're going to do everything we can and hopefully get returns coming pretty quickly so that can sustain itself. We also have, as I've mentioned before, Cindy Shea is leading a pilot of the Green Office program, and it's fittingly at the Institute for the Environment, seeing how that program might work as she looks to roll it out university-wide. That's going on this semester, and hopefully when we meet towards the end of this semester for our second meeting, we'll be ready to hear some about the results from that pilot. But that's another one of the emerging programs that we're working on at a scale now of refinement and piloting, and hope to move out to the scale of the whole university soon. I've mentioned before Sustainable Triangle Field Site, and that's something that the Institute for the Environment has been engaged in the past. And we have more recently directly connected our work in Sustainable Carolina to that field site. And so in the interim, after the retirement of David Salveson, longtime leader of that field site, I'm teaching that group, and Vic has been helping a ton, and Adam Gold, a postdoc of mine. It's been a lot of fun. It's something that I think is going to be great in the future because it will be intentionally connected to regional either towns or perhaps like Orange County. So this year we're looking at how the streams that originate on campus and connect to communities, connect those communities. And so through good and through bad, through transport of potential pollutants, through flooding, through all sorts of things, and understanding that they're a shared resource and that managing them together is a lot better than managing them by geographic barriers. So if anyone is close to the Forest Theater and wants to sprint down there at 11 a.m., we'll be putting in a pressure transducer, which will be very exciting. And I have all my stuff for lab work in my garage now, which is an exciting transition. But that's been great. We've also had engagement with students across the board with Sustainable Carolina. Tons and tons of great students from Eco Studio. I've already mentioned Green Office, that I know Cindy's getting great support from interns in Eco Studio in that regard. We have several other capstones where people from Sustainable Carolina have been the client or been an advisor. And so those connections are going really well and are really exciting and are building towards our new program that we're going to hope to stand up in the fall, but that may be a little bit of a rush. And it'll be a version of a sustainability steward, sustainability ambassadors program that will engage undergraduates more broadly. And so Vic's been helping us out with organizing that, benchmarking against other places and figuring out where we might fit in terms of what our program might look like. We have some ideas on that. Definitely we'll be in touch with you all soon. It's something that our university does well, engaging undergraduates in whether it be the research venture or anything else, the service mission. We're excited to have that be a bigger part of what we do. We also are, Elizabeth Havis and I have been talking for, I guess it's probably 6 months now, thinking about ways that we can look at our peers and understand their approaches to ESG, so environment, sustainability, and governance. I've talked with Jeff Middlestad about this as well. So pretty shortly here, we're going to be engaging a medium-sized group, 3 or 4 people who are interested, but everyone is welcome. So if we end up with the whole council, that's okay too. But we're expecting a subset of people with an interest in this area. And we're going to start off with a pretty comprehensive peer analysis and understand, be honest with ourselves about who our peers are, probably thinking about other public universities, but look at everyone and look for aspirational peers and understand why the people who are doing great things are able to do it. And with this assessment, try and get a sense of where we might be able to make headway in the near term in this realm, because it's a very important area and it obviously crosses over lots of issues around sustainability. So then finally for me, just thinking about Earth Day, we've made it a habit to try and have big things, exciting things to release to the university. We're fortunate we continue to have that be the case, that there are big things coming down the pike. Vic talked about the strategic framework last time. We'll be releasing that a little more formally and a little more colorfully, like with pictures and things like that, infographics rather than what we have right now, which is a pretty compelling bulleted list, I think. We've shared that with you all before. We'll share it again. There's always opportunities for feedback, and we look forward to any input that you have. So we'll allow a few weeks leading up to somewhat of an exciting April release time towards the end of April. So let's see. The final thing I have is the water plan, and that will be talked today. Melanie will talk today about the water plan. We shared it with a handful of you some time ago and with everyone about a week ago. This is not the single window for feedback like with everything, like with the climate action plan. We are always welcoming your input and are interested in ideas you have, whether big or small, for refining the way we think about these things. The water plan is interesting because the university had declared water neutrality, I think it was 2017. And that was a thought of as a benchmark within the former 3 zeros framework. And for us, we think that's great, but we're also broadening out the way we think about water. And hopefully that's reflected in the water plan that Melanie will talk more about. And again, we have amazing experts on this council and throughout the university. So we look forward to people's input if you have it. It is, as we are largely focused on sustainability as an operational piece, there's a lot of it that is around the operations, and all of that has been thoroughly and fully vetted with the operational folks. It's by no means been put together in any kind of a bubble. So we hope it's in good shape in that regard. But again, it's always open for additional comments and additional ideas. And Melanie will take you on a trip around where we are today, and we'll see if anybody else has ideas for additional thoughts around water. All right, well, that's what I've got in terms of an update. I thank you all. Everyone has been so engaged and so helpful, and it's been great. I appreciate it. And we'll be in touch with many more of you very soon, because we have additional things we want to take on and ways that we know we can benefit from your expertise and input. So I'd be happy to take any questions. All right, well, that must have been perfect. So I, again, as everyone here knows well enough, I'm always available. Please reach out with additional questions. Our agenda today, we've got a great report coming from Ben and Adelia about the RESPC committee. Or RESPC, I guess if I say committee, that's a double C. So that we've seen that they've been doing amazing things, great things in the headlines, and I talk with them frequently. It's another exciting year for that group. And so I think we're going to hear more about their plans, their structure, the way that they work, and hopefully we can all think together about, are there things we could do differently, or do we need to do things differently to be able to integrate RESPC's ideas and thoughts with the council? And I think informational is critically important, and we're thrilled you're here. Sorry, we tried to do it last time, but you all had exams on the exact day, and sorry about that, but we appreciate your taking your first job seriously. And with that, I will turn it over to Ben and Adelia.
Awesome, thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen with our slides. Can you all see that? Okay, sweet. Let me present it.
Awesome. So hi, I'm Adelia. Thank you so much for having us. We're really excited to be here. I also see that some of our ex-officios are here, so I'm happy to see you guys as well. So we are the Renewable Energy Special Projects Committee, and Ben and I are the co-chairs. And so today we're kind of going to go over about what we are, how we work, and then some of our projects from the past, as well as what we're currently working on. And then hopefully we can get some feedback from you all about what projects you guys think we should continue doing, if there's any feedback, really any thoughts that you guys have at all. So essentially, we are a little different than the average club at UNC. So we run under student government technically because we are operated by a student fee that I will go into a little bit later. But essentially, we're dedicated to planning and implementing projects, and they have to typically fit into one of 3 guidelines. And that's either be something related to renewable energy, energy efficiency, or energy education on UNC's campus. And so the funding was originally started by a 2003 student referendum, and it was approved in 2004. And so this green fee, or the renewable energy fee, as it's called in the student fees, is $4 per student per semester. So for example, part of my tuition, part of my fees is $4 for this fee. And so that all goes into our collective funds. So we receive approximately $250,000 plus or minus every year in funding. And so this began collecting in the fall of 2004, which was renewed in 2005 and 2009. And since 2013, the fee has been permanent. So a little bit more about our structure. You can kind of think about it as this pyramid. So at the top, we have our green fee. So that, as I just explained, is $4 per student, and that's in our collective fund that we're allowed to use for the projects that we work on. And so then we are an external appointment of the undergraduate student government. So as I said earlier, we operate and report to student government, but we're not necessarily directly part of student government. And then we're led by 2 co-chairs every year. So this past year, it's been Ben and I. And we also have voting members, which are the external appointees by student government, which consist of 3 undergraduates and 2 graduate students who essentially, whenever we have a project and we have an allocation document, they get to say whether or not they think that this is an appropriate project. And if at least half of us vote yes, then the project goes on to completion. We're also supported by our ex-officios, which I mentioned in the very beginning by saying hey, but essentially there are senior level faculty and staff, and they typically encompass energy management, energy services, and the sustainability office. And they essentially give us guidance on the projects, and they do a lot of the help really, because we're just students and they're full-time employees at UNC, so they know a lot more than us. And so they help a lot with where to go and what to do. And lastly, we're composed of roughly 30 dedicated members. So that's just our general student body. They are the ones that research projects, put up the proposals, or are in contact with people that need to be contacted for the projects to happen. And overall, we wouldn't really exist without our members. So they're definitely the bottom of our foundational pyramid. Cool. So before we continue, I just wanted to talk about my background and who I am. So I'm one of the co-chairs this past year at RESPC. I'm a junior and I'm majoring in environmental science, statistics with a minor in information science. And a fun fact about me is that I speak 3 languages, including a minority language, and those are Tatar, English, obviously, and Russian. And this summer, I'll be interning at United as part of their international network planning team, which I'm really excited. And I'll pass it over to Ben.
Yes, hi, I'm Ben Brown. I'm another co-chair. I'm a senior majoring in policy and environmental studies. So in my time at UNC, I've been to over 30 UNC basketball games. So I'm a really big fan, and I was actually raised an NC State fan. So that was kind of a weird transition, but I'm a pretty big fan now for life. And this summer, I plan to travel to Europe and also relax at the beach before I start law school in the fall. So hoping to get some like R&R in before I start that like grueling process that's law school. So to start, we're going to talk about some of our past projects, mainly on solar. Our main 2 solar projects are at the Union and at Morrison. So at the Union, that was in 2015 for about $30,000, and it can be seen from the top floors of Davis, and that's about 20 kilowatt of panels, and it also is complete with real-time energy monitoring, which is a very neat tool that we're hoping to update as I think Adelia will talk about later on. And then at Morrison is probably our most visible solar project on campus, as you can see it from almost like any angle walking towards it on South Campus. And that was about almost $200,000 in 2005, and it's a solar thermal system that also has HVAC optimization, lighting upgrades, and also it has great ways to provide programs on like energy education on campus. And it also won the national building competition that was hosted by Energy Star around that time. And our most recent solar project was funded just last year. Me and Adelia spent almost 2 years working on this, and it's on the new Curtis Media Center building that is still being under construction. It's you've probably seen it. It's like causing lots of chaos trying to get through that part of campus. And this project, it was about $100,000 last year, and it's a 25 kilowatt system on the roof, and it will provide about 40% of their electricity. And although it's not as visible because it's kind of flat on the flat roof, we're going to have a sign right in front of the building to show students who we are, what we do, and how they can get involved in our projects. So up next in solar, I'm sure many of you know that solar on campus can be kind of hard to get done because there's 2 main barriers, and the first one being that there's kind of rules in place that solar can't really go on those like old like historic buildings on campus because it would like detract from their like historic nature, like just on the main quad. So those brick buildings with the tile and shingle roofs. And then the other barrier is that a roof just not being structurally sound to hold solar. So that has been brought up in our recent discussions on, we found buildings that we think would be a good option to put solar on because they're flat and they're big, but they just can't hold a new structure on top of it. So recently we got an email from Cindy Shea, one of our ex officios, saying that there's going to be two new projects at Rams Head and at Memorial Hall. They're going to be re-roofing those roofs, and so there's a potential for us to fund solar on those roofs, which is very exciting. So the first step is to just assess if the new roofs could actually hold solar or not. So that would be us funding it's called a solar feasibility study. And so that would bring in an outside engineer to assess the structure of the roof to see if it could actually hold solar. And even if that study does show that these roofs are suitable for solar. It won't guarantee that we will fund it, but I think we're both pretty excited about these projects, and we'd love to have solar on both of them. I think at Rams, that I think it'd be very visible on campus because it's sort of like lower down, and I think you can see it as you're walking towards South Campus. You can see it from the football stadium, and then at Memorial, that's actually right next to the Curtis Media Center. So I think that would be a very cool hub on campus to have two buildings that have solar on it, and that could even be used to like showcase during tour guides for students. They can say, hey, there's solar on both of these buildings right here on campus, which would be very neat.
Yeah, so a little bit more about our recently funded projects. This past year, we funded the Edible Campus Solar Greenhouse, which is like solar panels on top of the greenhouse that will be built in the NC Botanical Garden. And so it's going to be about 20 kilowatts and a solar array for offsets. The next one is our first renewable hydroponic system, which you can see a picture of what a hydroponics tower looks like here on the right. But essentially it will produce fresh produce for UNC campus and the students, and it's planning on being in the campus Y. And this will be pretty educational for the UNC community since it is our first one, and it can showcase innovative green farming combined with renewable energy techniques. So it's a pretty cool combination of both. Additionally, we funded a project finance course for Professor Carol He, and she'll be taking the renewable energy project finance modeling course to design her own course at UNC. And we hope that by her taking this course, a lot more students can benefit from it and learn a lot more about renewable energy. And some of the current projects that we're working on, so like members of our organization are currently researching this and trying to get these done at the moment. The first one is walkable solar tiles. So this is pretty innovative as well. They're still kind of in their research stages and trying to see if this would be feasible. But essentially the goal of this project is to harness the energy potential with walkable solar tiles. And they plan on being somewhere in UNC's main campus, maybe preferably the pit area, but we're not sure yet. And so their goal would be to power small scale electricity uses like power outlets or electric scooter, electric bike charging. The next one is an updated energy dashboard for UNC. So we've realized that the current energy dashboard isn't necessarily the most user friendly. And so they're currently in the works of creating a better one, and our team is looking at how to make it better and how it can be better. We are actually currently taking feedback on what to include through a little survey Google form, which I'll send in the chat soon, but we encourage everyone to take it. It's literally like 2 minutes, and we would really appreciate all of your feedback as well, including student feedback, but I'll send that in a little bit. And then we are also working on LED retrofits and motion sensor lights. We've been working on installing motion sensor lights in a lot of our South Campus dorms this past year. So now we're working on expanding that. And currently we're looking at the old campus upper quad, old campus lower quad, Keenan and Connor, and hopefully even more in the future. And then we're also planning on starting up the LED retrofits again on campus, especially with RHA.
So our next pillar is energy efficiency, and so we've done lots of work on campus with that. So we've done LED retrofits at the Friday Center, at Hill Hall, Playmakers Theater, McCall, and Craig. We've installed new LEDs at both South Road and Stadium, the Akron Art Museum, Cobb, Beatty Hill, Rams Village, Grand Memorial, Rams Head Lighting Corridor, and Keenan Flagler. We've installed occupancy sensors at the School of Public Health. We've also done airflow reduction work at the Thurston Bowles Lab and at Hooker Lab. And so probably our most exciting project that we've brought into fruition recently is our 3 electric buses that are now being used on campus as of last month. We funded one of these 3 for about $400,000, which was our largest project that we've ever funded by far. The 2 other buses were got by a federal grant, and they have been delayed a while because of COVID, because the microchips had to be delayed. But we actually went and got to see them in January because they were still being tested at the facility site, and we got our own little personal ride in the buses or like around the area, and we got to see the wrap, and one of the buses has our logo on the side of it because that's the one that we funded. But one other aspect of this project is that we're going to be able to have ad space in all 98 of the transit buses for a full year. So that's very exciting. It's a great way for us to showcase what we can actually do. And we've both seen this on campus recently. It's very cool to just actually see our projects in person and to see how we're actually impacting students and the campus. So these buses, they one full charge will last about 4 to 5 hours, and they are currently running on, I think it's the is it the A, Adelia?
Yeah, I think they're
And
kind
then
of tested on all the routes, but we've seen
Yeah.
them on the A, the T, and then the U, RU, and U.
Yeah, so they're not out like all day because they can't like withstand that much, but they're definitely out and about, probably during afternoon, morning time. So if you're around campus and see them, take a picture of it or up on a ride. They're really great. They're really quiet and they're really fast. So very, very exciting. And I think they're hoping to get more in their fleet in the next few years. So this is definitely a big project for us to showcase. And we've been in touch with someone from UNC's main communications office, and he's been asking us about the project and is hoping to do a story about it. So very, very exciting.
Yeah, and one of our staple projects that's been reoccurring these past few years is the efficient freezer rebate program. And so this happens on a semesterly basis where science labs or any labs that have a freezer really on campus can apply to get up to 35% of their price rebated. And it allows for us to educate labs about energy efficiency and sustainable lab practices. It also gives us about 1 to 3 interns every semester, so they're through Eco Studio, so they're also able to learn and get involved with RESPC as well as our initiatives. And essentially this saves about 6,000 kilowatt hours per freezer per year. So it's a pretty cool initiative to help us move away from the pretty historic freezers that some of the labs use and switch to better alternatives. So some projects that we're interested in and are in the early stages of, and we're open to feedback and any suggestions that you guys may have. The first one is electric leaf blowers. We were reached out by an old alumni who worked in an office near MLK, and they essentially said that the leaf blowers are very loud, which is very true. So they thought that it would be cool to discontinue the use of gas-powered equipment on campus and switch to electric. So this is definitely something that sounds really cool, and it would be great if I live on MLK. In the mornings, I wouldn't wake up to the leaf blower sound. So we're kind of investigating this one and seeing if this could work out or not. We're also looking to expand EV charging. And I know that Dr. Peeler, you've talked about this, and I think Melanie, you've said some stuff about this. But we're working to look into increasing the EV charging on campus, because if we're gonna include more electric vehicles, I think logically it would make sense to also have charging stations. So we're also looking to work on this as well. And then lastly, as Ben was saying, we have the electric buses for the town of Chapel Hill. We think it would be pretty cool to work with the Robertson and see if we can also electrify the Robertson Express bus, which is the bus that connects Duke's and UNC's campus, and it runs pretty frequently. So you can imagine the emissions that it has on our community. And so I've been talking to the Robertson and some Duke organizations and seeing if it would be possible at all. And so we're kind of just looking into that, and hopefully we can start something with them as well. Yeah, and just if you're interested in coming to any of our meetings, we meet for the rest of the semester in Green Law 319 on Wednesdays from 6 to 7 p.m. Everyone is welcome to come in. So if you just happen to be in the area or want to stop by, please feel free. If you want to learn more, we have a website. It's respc.web.unc.edu. And then Ben and I's emails are right here. Our emails are pretty easy, basically just my first name and then Ben's first and last name. So feel free to reach out to us if you have any ideas or questions beyond this meeting.
Thank you both. That was awesome. Yeah, you clearly remarkable things going on. So congratulations to you two for your leadership. It's really great. So I'll get us started with a question. And I was just wondering, not necessarily historically, but just since you two have been in charge, how have you thought about the life cycle of the things that you propose? Is there ever, do you include resources to think about maintenance? Or is that really beyond the scope of how our ESBC operates? I'm just interested because we all know that a lot of these sustainability interventions, the upfront cost is a lot, but there's also potentially a residual cost that goes through time. And I'm just interested to get your thoughts on that philosophically, not specifically.
Yeah, we definitely look into the overall costs. And in general, when we are thinking about a project or voting on a project, we see that like whether or not it's actually feasible currently, but also in the long run. And we've definitely encountered that with one of our projects this past year, which would be the hydroponic system, because it's something that's very new and we're not really sure how it would work long term. But that's where we went. We actually, one of our members went to what was called like the law, or the people that help with law things, and we created
Legal resources.
Yeah, legal resources. We created a MOU, or memorandum of understanding, with Edible Campus, I believe, and someone on Edible Campus. So it basically states that it's on them kind of to be in charge of that in years later, or pass that on to someone else if they can't continue. So we essentially establish like relationships and make sure that someone is able to continue it past our project members and Ben and I's own time here at UNC.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Do others have questions?
I had a quick question. First of all, thank you so much. This is so interesting and exciting, and it must feel amazing to walk around campus and just see that you've made all of these changes. My question was sort of about communication. Do students know about the work that you're doing? I was thinking when you mentioned the campus tour that it'd be great for students to see those solar panels. And I think communicating that these are student initiatives and things that students can make happen as while they're on campus is really exciting. So I'm wondering if you have how well communication about the results of your projects goes, and how you reach other students to get involved or publicize the successes that you've had.
Yeah, so I think in the past it's been a pretty small group and it's not very well known. We went to Fall Fest last semester and got like lots of new members from that, and so but this year there's been lots of conversations in the committee about how can we get more people involved, because we have a lot of money and lots of resources, and there's lots of great ways we can make a big impact on campus. So I think two big ideas. Well, first being our Instagram page was not accessible to us for a while, but we finally got our password, and so now we're active on that again. And so that's a great way to get new members. But we're planning to make a hype video of our committee, and so we're gonna hire like a student that can make like a really cool video of our projects and us and just our whole committee and our history to just promote what we do. I think that it's great to have more students involved because then more projects can get done, because just how the projects really get done is that students have to work on them and they have to be at the meetings each week. So just having more students would be great. Do you want to add anything, Adelia, to that?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely working on expanding our outreach. We're planning on having like a outreach manager next year as well as a leadership position. We think that'd be great. But if anyone has any ideas for how we can expand that, we're definitely open to them. We'll be hosting an event with other environmental organizations later this month on the quad or somewhere around there to do like a craft together. So hopefully we can get some student engagement through that.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth, and thank you, Adelia and Ben. I think we're going to move along. Everybody, please reach out to Adelia and Ben if you have questions. Cindy Shea is the faculty advisor, so she's also a great resource. And I think we have several, at least a couple ex officio people on the video, so there are lots of ways to connect. Thank you all very much. That is really informative and great, and we'll look for opportunities going forward to coordinate, to do whatever we can to get synergy. And we'll go ride the quiet buses. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll definitely keep in touch. So next up on our agenda, we have Melanie Elliott walking through the water report, which you all received in your pre-meeting materials. This is meant to be, as we've talked about in the past, there was originally a roadmap that included water, waste, and greenhouse gases. And when we started, we pulled those apart into pieces, thinking that it would be best to communicate them one at a time because they're all such big issues. And we're really excited about where we're headed with water and look forward to getting feedback from this group from all your perspectives. Melanie, please take it away.
Thanks, Mike. And can you see the slides? Thanks. Okay. So hi, I'm Melanie, and I'm going to walk through the water plan draft, which you have a copy of. And it should read similar to the climate action plan that we released on Earth Day last year. So we want to release this water plan on Earth Day this year. The main sections of the plan include sources, progress, goals, and strategies. So I'm going to take you through those sections in order. The campus water cycle for primary potable water, reclaimed water, wastewater, and stormwater is shown here. Potable and reclaimed water purchased from OWASA comprise our primary water sources. The Jones Ferry water treatment plant is supported by the two reservoirs, University Lake and Cane Creek Reservoir. The treatment plant distributes the potable water to campus. In addition to the primary sources, we have over a dozen cisterns that collect up to 350,000 gallons of rainwater at multiple locations across campus. The rainwater captured in the cisterns displaces potable water that would be needed to flush toilets and provide irrigation. And these systems are included on campus when it's appropriate. Going back to the cycle, we can see that water leaves campus in the forms of stormwater and wastewater. The Mason Farm Reclaimed Water Plant provides some of the treated wastewater to some campus facilities via a purple pipe network. And our stormwater and the remaining treated wastewater end up in Jordan Lake. So it's important that we manage the water that leaves campus because Jordan Lake is a source of water for over 700,000 people. So wastewater is treated at the Mason Farm Wastewater Treatment Plant, but for stormwater, we want to minimize our impact on runoff. So pictured here is the FedEx Global Education building with one of its green roofs. And you can see the other green roof kind of on the back side of the picture. The drought-resistant rooftop garden is designed to minimize rainwater runoff. Excess water is directed towards an underground cistern, which provides water for toilets in the building and for the irrigation of the grounds around the building. There are many innovative stormwater measures on campus, such as the green roofs, permeable pavement, preventative drain maintenance, stormwater wetland construction, and stream daylighting. The implementation of over 250 stormwater control measures has improved downstream water quality in accordance with the Jordan Lake rules for nutrient management. In 2007, Senate Bill 668 called for at least a 30% improvement in water efficiency for new buildings and a 20% improvement for existing building retrofits. And it has been met and exceeded every year since the bill was passed. Prior to the pandemic, campus potable water consumption has decreased over 31% from 2007. And annual potable water use intensity, which is water use normalized by square foot, is 52%, sorry, this way, 52% lower since the 2003 baseline year. These significantly decreasing trends exist despite increasing campus population and millions of square feet of new buildings. And of course, the pandemic caused additional reductions in water use overall, but these reductions are expected to recover some as campus operations return to normal. So since we are already meeting the goals of Senate Bill 668 and the Jordan Lake rules, we set goals for the future of water use, research, and education on campus. Water use on campus can never be zero, but we can minimize our overall water consumption on campus and continue to minimize the proportion that is non-potable water, so we aren't consuming drinking quality water when it's not necessary. And we want to, of course, minimize our impact on stormwater by reducing the volume, rate, and pollutant load of stormwater runoff. Additionally, we want to support water research and education by establishing a network for water-related research to be shared with students, campus operations, and local and regional sustainability partners. So now I'll briefly go over the strategies we'll use to accomplish these goals. Many projects have already been implemented here. Therefore, a large part of the water strategy is to maintain or expand the successful projects. Sustainable water also includes high impact water research, which is being conducted across the university. The chilled water plants are the largest water users on campus. They supply cool water across campus to provide temperature control for the buildings. Using non-potable water for cooling towers limits the amount of potable water consumed. So this strategy has already been implemented. The cooling tower water for these main campus plants is reclaimed water instead of potable water. So currently the water used for irrigating athletic fields is also non-potable water, but we can expand non-potable water for water use for irrigation in other areas. For number 3, UNC design guidelines call for dual plumbing systems in new buildings when and where that's feasible, so that non-potable water can be used in place of potable water. And we also want to make improvements in rainwater harvesting, efficiency, and metering so that we can determine the impact of the harvesting. For stormwater, we can implement more stormwater control measures such as the green roofs and maintain stormwater drains by removing clogs, debris, and litter. Campus water use strategies are essentially improving efficiency and resiliency by improving building design guidelines, monitoring for leaks, upgrading fixtures, and assessing infrastructure. And research strategies include partnering with OWASA to connect water researchers on campus with real utility data, amplifying water-related research on campus, and fostering those partnerships with local and regional sustainability partners. So you can read more about all of the strategies in the corresponding sections of the plan that you have. And we also included this beautiful graphic that was created by Abigail to illustrate all of the departments, research centers, and institutes conducting water research at UNC. So the plan, in addition to highlighting all of the great accomplishments so far, it lays out goals and strategies for the future of water use at UNC. So you all have the draft of the document, and as Mike said, we ask that you provide any feedback to us so that we can make the plan as strong as it can be.
Thanks, Melanie. That was great. One thing I'll note, if anyone saw very early versions of the water plan or versions of the roadmap that I alluded to before, there used to be a significant history section. It is no longer in the plan, but it is still with us and really great. It's turning into a multimedia celebration of the history of water at Carolina. And it's really, I think it's going to be nice. Melanie started it and I think showed it to me and I thought it was awesome and didn't have a lot of ability to make it any more visually engaging. And thank goodness Abigail's here now. So we have another great resource to help with the substance that Melanie's put together in terms of taking that out as a separate asset and not having it be a part of the beginning of the plan, which is no reflection on how important we think it is. We just thought it was different enough that it would be nice to have it be separate. So that will be provided to you soon. Lots of great resources from UNC libraries. I'm sure everyone saw the meeting of the water story in the well, that sort of a connection to the natural system. All right, so thank you, Melanie. Are there questions? Forgive me, I'm trying to scroll through everybody's pictures to look for hands. So if anyone would like to just, if you have a question, please go ahead and unmute because I'm doing a bad job of scrolling around. Melanie, you must have been perfect.
I'll take
I
it.
do. I do have a quick question. I'm just wondering if you would point to like a couple of, it was amazing to see this downward trajectory, but can you point to a couple of the, like, what are the really big places that you anticipate change and future directions or things that are in motion that you'd be interested in highlighting?
Yeah, so I don't have a ton of projections for future water use. I think like I said, the biggest project that we've completed was switching over the cooling towers to reclaimed water. That was really important. And so any other projects like a new cistern harvesting rainwater is going to be a lot smaller in magnitude than that one big project. But if you look in the plan, you can see, kind of, it alludes to what else we want to do, what plans are already kind of in motion for certain projects. And I don't have any hard data for the impact of those. It's a little bit complicated. So one other thing that I'm currently finishing up is a water use intensity analysis for all the buildings on campus. So if that's something that you want to see, it just kind of shows the different buildings and high water use in different categories like laboratories or dorms or classrooms. And so we hope to be able to use that to do a better analysis for where we can kind of pinpoint water use, high water use across campus. But that is almost finished, not quite done.
I think that's an important point that as we have on the greenhouse gas side, where we have the amazing inventory, having this water use intensity is going to give us a metric to assess future change. And that'll be great. We're going to hopefully be in a really good place with data pretty soon here, thanks to Melanie.
And Erin has her hand up.
Erin, please.
Hi, Melanie. I'm sorry I didn't get a lot of chance to review that in anticipation of the meeting. Seems like I have way too many things to review this week, but it looks great. I was just wondering about sort of increasing in staffing to help with the maintenance of the stormwater control measures and sort of how, plans for covering those costs. We teach the stormwater finance class at the school of government. And so we just toured the retention wetland at the outdoor rec center. It's really exciting if you go and have a chance to tour it and talk to energy services about sort of the complications with maintenance of that and things like that. Between that and Battle Grove, the costs for the time spent for that maintenance are pretty significant. And so I think with the increase in new control measures, it would be an interesting thing to think about savings from the air or water usage and then transferring that to some more robust maintenance on campus to help those infrastructure work as they're supposed to. So just was curious about that.
Yeah, so I don't have any of that information. So as Mike mentioned, the plan was, kind of put together a few years ago. And then I worked with our operations partners and other folks to help update it. And so that question I can direct to the folks who actually do that work and get back to you. But I have a note here to do that. So.
Sure, great. Yeah, I'd love to have a conversation if it's helpful with anyone about some of that information. Thanks.
Great, thank you.
I think that's a great point and kind of goes back to my question to Adelia and Ben, thinking about all these things as the full cycle of their lives. And that'll be probably one that'll have to go to a little bit higher up to get support at the university. But I think people will be receptive. So thank you, Aaron. That's a great idea. We'll be in touch. Any other questions?
Maybe a couple of quick comments. First, Melanie, great job. I thought this was really well done. I always keep my eye towards the messaging and the PR side of this. And so I'm already trying to think through what's the key. And I like the fact that you frame a lot of this around water that's fit for purpose. And that may be one of the mantras that we try to elevate within that document, right? It's not just reduction, but it's this fit for purpose message that kind of underlies a lot of the work that you've got there, which I think is great. The other one is I wonder if we can draw a connection as well to some of the energy work too, because as we do shift away from potable water use, we're of course saving energy. And I don't know if we can characterize some of those costs or impacts, or maybe even the carbon footprint of some of that work. But some of those interconnections might also be worth trying to highlight as well. But really good job.
Thank you. Yeah, so we've been in contact with OWASA and talked with them about, the energy use compared to the water use that, it takes a lot of energy to get us the water. So that's something that we've touched on a little bit, but, all of this is kind of ongoing. So hopefully we can have some better information on that soon.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. Are there others? All right, I'm not seeing any. Someone tell me if I'm missing your hand. You'll have to forgive me. All right. Great. Well, as always, thank you all. Thank you all, for those who've been so engaged and so much. Everyone else, please expect to hear from us coming up. We've got a lot of things going on, as you see, and lots more coming. So it's really exciting. I'm grateful for the council and your support, the council's council, and we're happy to be able to keep feeding you interesting things to be engaged in. Always reach out, please, if you feel like we could be doing things differently or better. We are open to feedback for certain. But with 2 minutes before 11, I'll give you 2 minutes back unless someone would like to offer any other comments. We'll be meeting again, as I mentioned, later in the spring. That'll be a 2-hour meeting. Love to think it's in person, don't think it is, but we will have the Zoom component where others who are viewing will be able to ask questions directly. So thank you again. And if you're near the Forest Theater, come join us in the field. It's going to be exciting. All right, everybody have a great Thursday, and I look forward to talking to you all soon.